Hello, everyone. This is Lily Luna, and this is my review of Act 2 of Love Never Dies, the US tour. I've been meaning to post this for a while. I recorded part one just a day or so after I had seen the show, and it's now, what, probably 3 weeks later, so I kind of need to get Act 2 recorded before while it's still somewhat fresh in my mind. It's now been a couple weeks since I've actually seen the show. So as you can probably see here, I've got the synopsis pulled up just so I can be sure that I hit all of the numbers, all the songs, and all the plot lines that go on in Act 2. Okay, so where did we leave off? So Act 1 ends. Madame Giry is not happy that Gustav is the Phantom Son. She's afraid she's gonna not get money, I guess, that she thought she would get. I still think that whole thing it's a pretty silly motivation. I don't really buy into it that much. And a couple of things I wanted to restate that I said about Act 1 is the standout songs from Act 1 are Till I Hear You Sing and The Beauty Underneath. I think those are the two best songs from that act. I do enjoy Beneath the Moonless Sky, but I feel like it is a pretty song, but I think my enjoyment of that song comes from it comes from like the 12-year-old inside of me that really wants to see the Phantom and Christine together. I think that's where my enjoyment of that scene comes in. But as far as the quality of the songs, the two big ones for me are Till I Hear You Sing, the very first song, and The Beauty Underneath, which is close to the end of Act 1. And I still think it's a shame that they seem to trim down The Beauty Underneath. And they changed a lot of the one thing I didn't mention about that song is they changed a lot. These lyrics that I'm showing on the screen right now are um the lyrics from the Australian version, and I'm not sure if the London version I don't know if it changed when it went from London to Australia. I'm not sure if these are the original lyrics, but they're the ones that I'm familiar with from the Australian show. And it, really, I'm wondering, they changed a lot of this stuff. They changed a lot of Gustav's interjections in the song where he has some dialogue, he has some singing moments. He if you've heard this how the song goes, the Phantom is, showing him around and saying, do you understand? Do you, see the beauty in all these strange things that you're seeing? And, the kid keeps going, yes, 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 like I do, I get it, I see it. And if you listen to the lyrics and that combined with Gustav's constantly saying, yes, oh, yes, it could it could almost be read as something inappropriate is going on. And I know that's not what it is. That's not what's going on at all. But just from the some of the lyrics, I mean, have you ever yearned to go past the world you think you know? Have you let it draw you in? Felt the full breathless pull? Um, and he's so beautiful, perhaps too beautiful. I mean, um, there's some other questionable. Does it fill your every sense? Does it tell me you need it too? Um, let's see what else. I'm just scrolling over you'll accept it, you'll embrace it, and the whole time the kid is going, yes, 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 and it's almost like it. It's got so it sounds for all the world like the Phantom is a pedophile trying to groom this kid, and I wonder if that's the reason for them changing some of the lyrics and taking some of that dialogue out that Gustav had. And again, I just want before people, I've commented about this on YouTube here and there over the years, and some people get really upset because they're like, "No, the Phantom's not a pedophile. He's..." I know. I know that he's not. I know that's not what the song is about, but it could be read that way, just judging from some of the lyrics and the kids' dialogue. It could be read as inappropriate. So I wonder if that was the reason for them changing that. But yeah, moving on. So now we're in Act Two, um, which opens with Raoul in the bar, and we get the song from him, "Why Does She Love Me?" I don't know. I don't really see a reason for the song to exist. It's not. It's fine. It's not a great song. It's not a horrible song. It's just kind of there. And really, that's a good question that he's asking. Why does she love him? From all accounts, he's kind of turned into a jerk ass. He, has gambled away almost all of their money, it seems, owes a ton of money. He gets drunk. He doesn't want anything to do with his own kid, which we know by now that it's not his kid, but for all he knows, he is. So he, as far as he knows, is his son and doesn't really seem to want much to do with him. And so, yeah, that's kind of a good question. Why does Christine still want to be with this guy? And I guess they wanted to have a scene showing that Raoul still genuinely loves Christine and still values, values their marriage and wants them to be okay. But I feel like you could have gotten that done in. I don't think you needed to have a whole song about it. I think they could have gotten that done maybe in the first act and just have maybe some dialogue and a couple of tender moments between them. I don't really think it was necessary to have this whole song about it. So that song happens, and then you have Meg come in from her daily swim, and she's telling Raoul that you guys should just go. You should just leave. And I mean, her motivation for doing this is that at this point she doesn't want to be upstaged by Christine. She has this big number prepared, which we'll get to, and Christine is going to come on after her, and of course she knows Christine will show her up because she, has such an amazing voice. And I don't know, they really seemed to take out any indication that Meg has a thing for the Phantom. I think they should have left that in because that gives her more of a motivation for what we're building up to here. Because as it is now, I just don't buy it. I just don't see it happening. But we'll get to that. So this leads into she warns him, and then she takes off, and Raoul's shouting after her like, he's not Mephistopheles. I love that line, by the way. That's a great line. Um, I'll basically, if he comes back, I'll kick his ass, I'll blah blah blah, and then the Phantom pops up from behind the bar. Because what happens in the show is that there's a bartender behind the bar the whole time, and at some point he switches with the Phantom and he pops up, and which as I like that. That's a cool moment. And so we have this duet between Raoul and the Phantom, which I really like. We haven't seen anything like that before, so I really like this song. I think it's cool. I like the kind of energy between the two of them, as they're each saying like, "Look, Christine." During the course of the song, the Phantom starts to plant seeds of doubt in Raoul about, is this actually my child or is it his? And so, of course, that's revealing to Raoul that at some point Christine and the Phantom slept together, which he was previously unaware of. And what ends up happening is they make a bet. They say, the Phantom's like, okay, look, if she doesn't sing and she goes away with you, then I'll pay all your debts. You'll be debt free, you'll be able to start over, and you can leave with your family. But if she does agree to sing, then she and Gustave have to stay, and Raoul has to go back to Paris on his own. um, which I I don't really know. I mean, I suppose I could see Raul agreeing to that because he, Christine's his wife. He has a good reason to believe that she would, want to continue being his wife and want to go away with him. And plus, he has the opportunity to have all his debts wiped away. So that's definitely a big motivation. So that motivation I can, even though he's taking a risk on his marriage, I can buy that motivation because that's somebody who's been under a, metric truckload of debt knows what a burden it is. So I can buy that, but and the Christine never finds out either. She never finds out that they made this bet, and I would be pissed at the Phantom for doing this, like basically trying to send my husband away and interfering in her marriage. He's already interfered in her life in so many ways, and I, I would be pissed, but she never even finds out. So I guess he doesn't ever have to deal with the consequences of that. Um, but yeah, Devil, the song itself, I really enjoy. That's one of my favorites from the show. It's a Devil Take the Hindmost. Yeah, good song. I like that. And we get they're showing, is this the, oh sorry, I was on the wrong, because Heaven by the Sea does not exist in this version. That was the London version that was in. So yeah, so after that, they're advertising the Christine's appearance at the concert, and um this brings us to the big show, and Meg comes on first and does her performance, which this is Bathing Beauty is the name of the number that she does. And I like it. I think it's cute. I think it's catchy. I think I mentioned in Act 1 that I really like this Meg, Mary Michael Patterson. She's very, very good. She's played Christine on Broadway. So she's very, very good. She's very, very likable, very um, good to watch. So that song happens, and it's at the end of it, she goes topless. You don't see anything, but she does, take her top off, and she's kind of, she's got people around her and stuff, so it's set up to where you don't see anything. But the whole point of her doing this is she thinks the Phantom is watching and she's trying to impress him. And after this happens, you find out that Madame Giry comes in and tells her no, he wasn't watching, he doesn't care. All your hard work has been for nothing. And this is the point where Meg kind of goes nuts. Yeah, I mean, you don't see it happen. We just transition to the next scene, but this is what leads her to ultimately she ends up going nuts, and she takes Gustav off with her and to like drown him, and she takes him up to this high pier and she's just going to toss him in because at some point we get some exposition that he can't swim. So and I I just don't what we've seen from her so far as her motivations, it's not a strong enough motivation to do all that. I mean, even in the earlier productions where we get some more indication that she has a thing for the Phantom and that she is kind of trying to take Christine's place. I can see that happening. That is a dynamic that can happen with friends where one is immensely talented and one's kind of just more the sidekick. Like that's kind of a common story trope, and that's the thing that is true to life. That can happen. The person becomes resentful. They say, why can't I? So that it's a little bit more believable if you look at it from that angle, but they really played that down in this version. So I don't see the motivation. I don't believe that the Meg that we know would do this because she's jealous of Christine. And now what triggers her in the end scene is something else that that I will get into. But yeah, this is kind of the turning point for Meg, where she just kind of breaks and goes nuts um, and does what she does. But we'll get to that. So yeah, so we have this. Did I go out of order here? No, I guess I didn't. So Bathing Beauty happens, and then we go to the before the performance where Raoul is asking Christine, don't sing, let's just leave this place and come away. And Christine is like, I mean, we need the money. He's paying. We came here for one amount of money. Now I'm have the opportunity to make double that, and so we need the money. I've got to do this. That's and he leaves her to think it over, and she's sitting there, she's remembering what happened in the first one. We get a little bit of twisted every way with some of the lyrics dropped out because some of them aren't appropriate to the current situation. um I mean, I really like all the musical callbacks to the first one. There's a lot in here. There's some, as I mentioned in Act One, that have been added along the way. So I really, oh, and going back to for a minute, jumping back to Devil Take the Hindmost. One thing I mentioned this in the first part of this review, that this was a scene, I believe, in the London production. This was a scene where he wasn't wearing his mask, and I really wish they had kept that here, because he has it on for the entire show. Basically, the only time he takes it off is at the end of the Beauty Underneath, and he immediately puts it back on after the kid runs off, so you don't even really see anything. And that's it. He doesn't, rewind to the first show. He spends the entire last number with his mask off, so you get a fairly substantial amount of showtime, with it off. And I wish he had gotten the same here, because it's just such an interesting dynamic, especially if they had also left in, that moment between him and Christine, again, carried over from the London production, where you do see that heat between them when he's not wearing his mask. That's so interesting to me, that she is no longer terrified of his face, that she still has these feelings for him despite what he looks like. So I really think it's a shame that they basically cut that aspect of it out of this show. Um, but okay, so jumping back to where we are. So we get a reprise of Devil Take the Hindmost between Madame Giry, the Phantom, Raoul, and Meg gets a line in there too, and they're just kind of all wondering what's going to happen. Is she going to sing? Is she going to, again, this is our big this is our big conflict here. Will Christine sing? That's it. That's I think that's why they added what happens here at the end, because there's there's just no big conflict here. It's either, will she go on and perform, will she not? That's it. That's our conflict. And okay, so this leads to Christine's big her big aria, which is Love Never Dies. It's the title song. And yeah, this is where she ultimately, there's kind of this long intro to the song, so she's kind of like making her last minute decision. Am I going to do this? Am I going to not? Ultimately, she does it. She sings a song. And this, I think, is one of the only places in the entire show that Christine, the Christine actress, is able to show off her vocal chops, because it's it was just stunning. I mean, beautifully sung. I think the audience would have given her a standing ovation if it had not been in the middle of the show, because that's not really done at in the middle of a show. Musicals almost always get a standing ovation at the very end when they do the curtain call, but it's generally not done in the middle of the show. But if if that was more of a thing, I think people would have stood up, because she was incredibly good. I mean, that it's already a pretty song. I wasn't, before I saw the show in person, I was never had a big thing about the song. I mean, I thought it was pretty. I thought it was, I thought it was fine. It was just kind of there. But I'm definitely more impressed with this song after seeing it live and, hearing the performance, because she has got a outstandingly good voice and it really shows here. Yeah, she doesn't really get, maybe a little bit maybe in Once Upon Another Time and Beneath the Moonless Sky. She gets a little bit of opportunity to show off what she can do vocally, but she definitely does here. Because it's, yeah, I can't say a bad thing about that scene. It was just stunning. Um, so that happens, and Raul ends up leaving like in the middle of the song because, he's disappointed that she has basically chosen the Phantom. Um, and she afterwards is greeted by the Phantom in her dressing room, and he's so happy, and and they end up making out. Now, okay, this is part I I'm not gonna lie, like when I first started exploring this show and watching some of the clips, and when I saw that scene where they just start making out, my heart just kind of exploded a little bit because, again, I am one of those Phantom and Christine fangirls, one of the ones who always wanted her to stay with him. So that scene was very exciting to me for, 12-year-old girl inside of me. But watching it in this show, I didn't really feel anything seeing it. It didn't feel earned to me at all. It was just kind of, it was just kind of there because up until this point, the Phantom's pretty much been a jerk ass to to Christine and her family. So, and as I mentioned, they took out all of these other little moments between the two of them that really make us see, this passion between them. And by taking that out, it makes that scene feel unearned. Like, where is this coming from? Suddenly she's making out with him. And yeah, so I really didn't feel much when that scene happened. I didn't, I expected to feel like, just feel so joyful and feel so, all of us, all of us 12-year-old fanfic writers, because Phantom fanfic's been around for a long, long time. I'm a 20 plus year fan. It was around back then. It's around still. Yeah, this is basically what this show is. Like, somebody somewhere wrote a fanfic that was there's probably multiple ones from back in the day that were very similar to this show that, oh, they actually had in fact, if you've ever read the book, if you've read Susan Kay's book Phantom, it's which I highly recommend. It's a very good book. It tells the story of the Phantom's life up until he gets to the opera house, and it tells that part of it as well. It tells um throughout Christine's time at the opera house and their relationship and stuff, and then it goes into a little bit afterwards too. So I won't say too much about what happens, in case you haven't read the book and you're interested in it. And that book, it's people have called it fanfic before, and I kind of agree, but it's very very well done though. It's a very high quality fanfic if you're going to call it that, because it's not an actual fan fiction. It is a book that was published and everything. So yeah, Susan Kay's Phantom. I love it. Read it several times. If that's the kind of thing you might like, I highly recommend it. There's some similarities between that and this show. So yeah, this is kind of like what every Phantom fan like me has wanted to see, but it just doesn't work on stage. Yeah, so that scene happens, and then she finds a note from Raoul saying, I'm leaving. Basically, the Phantom, your angel of music, can watch over you now, and everything. And he's just taking off. And so Christine realizes, hey, where's my kid? Where's Gustave? And the first thing that they think is that Raoul took off with them, um, which is not the case. They suspect Madame Giry, and they bring Madame Giry in, and she's like, "How dare you accuse me? How?" And I mean, I don't know why she's acting so like, wide-eyed and innocent, because I mean, she's not the one that did it, but she's still, she's been popping up here and there all pissed off. And yeah, I mean, we have every reason to believe that she might be the one who did it, but she's not. It turns out it was Meg that went nuts, kidnapped Gustav, and is now she's en route to take him to the pier to dump him into the water. And I guess she thinks that's gonna solve all of her problems. I mean, I know the implication here is that she's gone crazy. So yeah, so it kind of we do this long chase through Phantasma, because I guess that's the first place that they look for him, and that kind of gets dragged out a little bit. But then they finally realize, oh, okay, I know where she is. So they go, and we cut to Meg and Gustav, and of course Gustav is saying, "I want to go back. I can't swim," and Meg is just kind of all like gone psychotic, like, "Oh, it'll be over soon. Everything's fine." Like she's just lost it at this point. Um, so everyone shows up. The Phantom, Christine, and Madame Giry all show up, and of course, get her to let Gustav go, and she lets him go pretty easily. Like they're just kind of there for a minute, and she's just like, okay, here he is, and just lets him go, and that's that. And she ends up pulling out a gun, um, and puts it to her head, and here we get the reveal that to to kind of help finance Phantasma when they first started it up, that she was being paid to sleep with different, important men that could, invest and help finance this. And, she was basically a prostitute to, and okay, they allude to this a little bit in Act 1. There's like a mention of something that she did that she doesn't want to talk about, but it's really blink and you miss it. You might not even catch the reference to it. And this reveal, I don't. This is the other thing I was talking about when I said this is not something that I believe the Phantom character would ever do. I, I don't. I can't, because he had to have known, and I can't see him. I can't see him being okay with little Meg Giry, whoring herself around to help. I mean, the Phantom is, he's a shrewd enough character that he knows. Again, if you read Susan Kay's Phantom, it goes into the different ways that he's able to make himself a living and make himself money, and it's not difficult for him at all. He's never really impoverished throughout the story. He basically always has money and is always fairly wealthy. So I mean, this character, even putting that aside, that's obviously not canon or anything. Um, but just knowing what we know about this character, he's shrewd enough to be able to make money without having to resort to that. And I don't think that he would ever allow that either. I don't think he would allow, because he's got to have some kind of attachment to the Giris. I know that he's not like in love with Meg the way he was with Christine, but I mean, it in the 2004 movie they kind of changed the backstory with that. Madame Giry was kind of his friend from childhood and helps him escape to the opera house, which is not the backstory that is actually was from the first show. They changed that around a bit, but with that or without that, she still is kind of this mother figure to both Christine and the Phantom, as well as being Meg's actual mother. um so yeah, I mean, he's got to have some sort of attachment to the Giris, and I just can't believe that he would go along with that. But this is the reason that she's kind of going crazy, which this is okay. It's a little bit more credible than the other reasons we've had so far, but I, I just don't see it ever happening, so it doesn't really work for me. And this leads to the Phantom says the stupidest thing to her that I could ever. I gotta look the line up because I can't remember exactly how it goes. Oh shoot, what am I doing here? Can't type apparently. What is it? Diamonds never sparkle bright until. Is that how it goes? Made just right. Okay, I think it's part of this. Sorry. Bear with me for a minute. This is what you... Okay, here. Okay, so the Phantom says to Meg, who is completely, she's gone nuts. She's got a gun to her head. She's full of self loathing. She's jealous of Christine. And the Phantom says to her, well, he sings it, but says to her, diamonds never sparkle bright if they aren't set just right. Beauty sometimes goes unseen. We can't all be like Christine. I I mean, I can't think of a worse thing that he could have said to her than that. I mean, is is he stupid? He's the Phantom isn't stupid. He knows how to. I mean, I know that in the first show he is kind of like this hermit. He's secluded. He obviously doesn't socialize much. He doesn't have people skills, but he's not dumb. He knows how to manipulate people. He spent this entire show manipulating Christine and her family. The entire first show he spent manipulating Christine and the opera house. He knows how people tick. He knows, what motivates people, what drives people. He is a very, very, genius level intellect is supposed to be this character. So why why would he say that to her? Ugh, that bothers me so much because it, yeah, there's really nothing else I can say about it. That's the dumbest thing that he could have possibly said. Um, and this, blindingly, obviously, makes her go nuts. And she's like, Christine, it's always Christine. And she's waving the gun around, and the gun goes off, and it shoots Christine like in the side, like in the torso somewhere. Um, and she's immediately horrified because she didn't mean to shoot Christine, but she did. And she and Madame Giry just kind of take off, like they're just like peace out and bye, and they just kind of run off. Like I I don't know, is there like did Meg get did Meg ever go on trial for like murder, or maybe they just like ran off and decided to go back to Paris or something? But yeah, they just kind of dip out. They're just gone. And then she's left with the Phantom and Gustave, and she reveals to because she's at this point, she's dying, and she reveals to Gustave that the Phantom is his father, and Gustave's like, no, and runs off, and I don't know. I mean, I guess he was running off to get Raoul because he returns with him, but it's kind of a weird reaction. I mean, his mother is there. His mother's dying, and he just runs away. Like, what if she had died before he came back? I mean, that that was kind of a weird reaction to me, but I guess it just served to get Raoul back on scene. Which he comes back, and in the meantime, Christine, she and the Phantom have a little. I think it's a reprise of Once Upon Another Time, and um, they they also add a reprise of Love Never Dies, which wasn't I believe, in there before, and that's fine. It works, it's just a short reprise. Um, but she dies, and this is our big over the top acting moment from the Phantom. It's like, no, like it's just like it's this B movie, like damn you, it's so over the top, and I know theater is different from from movies. Things have to be a little bit bigger in theater because you don't have you don't have things like close-ups and cameras that can zoom in on your face and everything, so it has to be a little bit bigger than, but it's still pretty over the top. So she dies, and Raul comes along, and he kind of hands her body off to Raul, and he goes to the end of the pier, and you kind of seem like he might be thinking about jumping and just ending it all. And I think this is actually where the Love Never Dies reprise comes in, and Gustav comes over to him and takes his mask off and looks at his face, and he's not scared this time. And that's it. Show's over. That is the end of the show. Phantom and Crusade kiss one last time, and and then she dies. So, and there's also, after they do the curtain call, at least in the one that I saw, they do the whole cast does another reprise of Love Never Dies after they've all come out. It's short, but I thought that was, I mean, I didn't mind it, but I was just kind of like, why did they do that's usually they don't do that at the curtain call, but whatever, it was fine. So yeah, that's the end of the show, and yeah, I really I wanted to like this show because there are things in it that are good. But it's just not, the storyline is not very well executed, I don't feel. The whole thing with Christine dying, it's kind of like, I think that the whole reason that that is in there is because they didn't have a big ending for this show. Because once, like I've said over and over now, our only big conflict is Christine. Will she sing? Will she not sing? Will she choose Ral, or will she choose the Phantom? That is our big conflict. And that does not really set us up for, it set us up for sort of, it, goes about it a different way. But the first show sets up its big climax very well. Things kind of naturally progress to what ends up happening, but things aren't that way anymore. The Phantom he's more out in the world now. He's a businessman. He's got this whole empire going on. So he's not in that place anymore where he's going to go nuts and take off with Christine and try to kill Raul, and we're not there anymore. So they don't really have anything that would naturally lead to a climax. So it's just like, well, I guess we'll kill Christine off, and that's it. I and oh, it really it really bothers me about Meg, because I I mean, I could see that character maybe going a little dark, like maybe getting into, she's obviously got some self-loathing going on there, some self-esteem issues, and I don't mind that characters necessarily go down a dark path, but I don't buy that she would try to kill Christine's child. I mean, it's certainly not the kid's fault that any of this stuff happened. He's really just a representation to her of, that the Phantom's first love is Christine, and that this is where all his attention is going to be now. And that's just not enough of a motivation for murder. Not for a character that we got to know a little bit in the first one that was, not the murdering type, to say the least. I don't even know what else to say about it. The show just doesn't work. And I did a little bit of reading about the current tour, and it sounds like it's not, as far as critically, it's not faring that much better here in the US than it has previously. I read one in the early the first couple of stops that this tour made, I think they asked critics to not even come yet because they didn't want people reviewing the show yet. And I think it was Baltimore, they didn't listen, and somebody somebody posted a review of it anyway. But that's not that's not a good sign when you're asking critics to hold off on their opinion while you kind of work out the kinks. I mean, that's what the previews are for. That's what you've got that whole time to kind of work out the what doesn't work about the show. And but the problem is they can tinker with the show all they want, and there definitely have been improvements made to it, but the main problem is that this show is flawed. It's inherently flawed because of the story. That is the problem. The story does not work for a musical. The story is every 12-year-old girl's fanfic that they wrote after seeing Phantom for the first time. It's wish fulfillment. It's not the Phantom of the Opera is like the perfect show. It has the perfect beginning, the perfect middle, and the perfect ending. That's how you do a show. That's why it has so many fans of it that are just so passionate about it, like myself, because that the story of Eric and Christine, well, he's not he's not called I refer to him as the Phantom in when I'm talking about the musical because his name is never said, but his most fans know that his name is actually Eric. But the story of the Phantom and Christine is you pretty much close the book on it in the first one. And I have enjoyed some of the stories that people have come up with to kind of explore what might happen and how they might come back together. I mean, I'm not saying that I've never enjoyed kind of exploring that, but I I don't think as a big production that is like canon to the story that we know. I don't think that it works. I don't think this show was broken from jump. Everything that they're trying to do to it to make it better are just band-aid fixes. It's not fixing the problem, which is that the show just is not the story is not good. Um yeah, and I hate that I feel that way because I wanted to like it. I knew that it wasn't going to be as good as Phantom. I knew that going in, that this was not going to be the kind of show that I would be so passionate about that I would want to see it over and over because that's what Phantom is for me. I'm seeing it next month when it comes here, and that will be my 20th time. So, I have seen it many times over the year, and I'm probably going to do um, I'm seeing the tour version because Phantom is also touring the US right now, and the current tour has changed things from the original London and the original Broadway version, both of which are still running with the original everything. They've made some changes, and a lot of the changes I don't really like. So I'm probably going to be doing um, a side by side comparison of the changes they've made and whether they work or not. Um, so yeah, oops, didn't mean to click over to that. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the show. I wanted to like it, but ultimately, there's some good songs in it. The Till I Hear You Sing, Beauty Underneath. I do really like Devil Take the Hindmost, and Love Never Dies is a very good aria for Christine. I can't say enough good things about the Christine that I saw perform that song. It was flawless, just gorgeous. So, I'm not saying that there wasn't talent behind it, but yeah, it's not a show that I would probably go see again. I tend to, when I go see shows, I don't ever get like the some people just go and they just get like the shitty seats. They get, nosebleed or whatever that they might pay like 40 or $50 for. I don't do that. Like if I'm going to go see a show, I want to really do it right. I want to have a good seat. I actually have front row seats for Phantom when it comes next month. I think I had like a I think I had 10th row for this one because I waited a little bit longer to buy the ticket because of, financial reasons and everything. So I wasn't able to buy it as far in advance as I wanted, but I still ended up with a decent seat having waited as long as I did. And yeah, I don't think that I would go see this again. Once I think was enough. I, wanted to see what it was all about, wanted to see some of the changes. I saw it and I pretty much agree with the critics. It's pretty much mixed to not that good as a show. I'm curious how long the US tour will last. I mean, it just started, what, like a couple months ago, right? I mean, it's not been maybe 3 or 4 months ago. It's not been going for that long. So I I don't think it will be as long running as the Phantom tours have been. One of the first Phantom tours that I saw, it came to my city several times. I saw that same tour over and over. The one that's on now, this is its second stop in my city. So it's been going for several years now and it still seems to be doing well. I don't think that this one will get to that level. I don't think the tour will be for that long. And yeah, I haven't really looked up many the reviews that I find online that are done by like, the local news places or whatever. They usually tend to be kind of kiss ass, they're usually kind of positive to it. So I that's one reason why I like to do my own review because I really want to give an honest assessment of what this show is. I mean, if you're thinking about seeing it or not seeing it, you're not sure. If you're a hardcore Phantom fan like I am, I would say maybe check it out. You might be interested to see, some of the stuff, some of the songs. It might be it's kind of interesting to check it out and see what it's all about. But if you're just a casual fan of Phantom and of musicals in general and you're not really sure it'll be your thing, I honestly would skip it. I mean, you could always get the Australian version is on DVD, and that's as close as we have to a definitive version of it right now. So I would say, grab that DVD for $20 or whatever it goes for and just watch that if you're, kind of on the fence about whether to see it live. That would be my recommendation. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna leave it here. Like I said, I'll be coming out with another Phantom review. That'll take a little bit of time because I have to see the show first, obviously. I think it's February 22nd that I'm seeing it. So I'll be coming out with that side by side comparison um, once that happens. And I've got a few other things in mind, both Phantom related and not. So yeah, just keep an eye on this channel for more stuff coming up. And until then, this has been Lily Luna reviewing Love Never Dies Act 2. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.